Despite having a bad attitude and very strong coffee, and sometimes questionable wine, it seems like that France is also going to be inheriting our brain drain. And I believe that AJ has the story. AJ?
Aix-Marseille University in France launched the Safe for Science program in March. And only a month later, they already have 300 applications for researchers seeking refugee status. The Netherlands and Germany have also created, requested to create, or support similar programs offering a safe space for scientists that are facing challenges. The motivation for these programs has been driven by a desire to attract and retain top scientific talent after recent funding cuts and political instability in the United States. Universities and medical research facilities in the US are set to lose billions in federal funding due to the current administration's cuts to the National Institute of Health. This is a devastating blow to our country's standing as leaders in scientific advancements. This story is from NPR by Alana Weiss on April 18th, 2025.
Thank you, AJ. And I just want to say it's just all in jest, France. A tutelle. A tutelle. Vive la France. Enchanté.
Yes.
Itchy, itchy, yeah, 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 yeah. All right. So, AJ, talk a little bit more about the whole premise about leaving America. Let's get into the weeds of that. Let's can you talk a little bit more about that in the SAFE program?
It's crazy because in 1 month, this university received 300 applications for the SAFE program from scientists seeking refugee, and almost half of those are Americans. You know, it is actually a big portion of the applications, but unfortunately, only 20 Americans that applied for this will, in the end, be accepted into the program. I mean, these aren't just your average scientists and researchers. Some came from backgrounds from some of the most prestigious US institutions like Johns Hopkins University, NASA, Yale, and Stanford. And it goes to show that the desperation that these scientists are facing. The Nature journal recently conducted a poll of more than 1,600 participants, identifying scientists, and 1,200 of these participants, which is 75%, say that the current administration's funding cuts were the reason why they were considering moving to Canada or Europe, including places like France. And I mean, I get it. You really can't blame them. This is going to affect their research and treatment for people for things like cancer research, medications for treatments of diseases, for vaccines, all kinds of different medical stuff.
That's a good segue into something that you wrote, actually, Stephen, that this brain drain isn't really about losing people, it's about losing potential. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. When you lose talent like this, when you lose the ability to think progressively on topics like this, we don't know what it's going to cost us. We don't know what the drawback is because those thoughts haven't even been thought yet. When we cut funding in this kind of manner, it disrupts the entire chain. And one of the biggest impacts of that chain are the breakthroughs and the innovations and the new things that no one has considered yet. So it's not even that it's not that the people in and of themselves are the precious commodity. It's what spins out from their work that is so precious. And we don't know what they're not going to be able to do because they're losing that potential. And it really creates a deficit of leadership that is going to impact all of humanity for a long time, because like I believe, I hope, I know, I believe that the baton will be passed, that a new machine will start up to fill in those gaps, because I believe that's a piece of how humans are wired. But it's going to take time for that transition to happen, and who knows what we're going to lose and how far we're going to regress while that new machine gets warmed up. So this is going to have a huge impact on future generations, and hopefully they're up to the task of righting this ship, whatever that looks like, and that they can get us back on track with regaining that potential that's been lost.
Yeah, it's kind it not kind of it's very sad because for the longest time America has been the nation of innovation. I wish that you guys can kind of see the t-shirt that I have on. I know this is not OnlyFans, but I wanted you all to check that out. It says black without black inventors, you wouldn't have these. And it talks about all the products that we had that was invented right here in the United States: the elevator, the fire extinguisher, the light bulb. And I know, like, well, what about Thomas Edison? I thought that he invented the light bulb. Yeah. However, Lewis Latimer actually invented the filament that goes into the light bulb so it wouldn't light without that. So thanks, Thomas and Lewis, for your collaboration on making sure that we have seen that. The mailbox, the pencil sharpener, the traffic light, blood plasma bag. That's Dr. Charles Drew. It's funny about Charles Drew. He was the one who discovered plasma when they had a blood shortage during World War II. So that actually made made it possible to do transfusions, even though that you couldn't, and you didn't have to use the entire blood supply. So it actually stretched it out. And he suffered an accident and tried to get it treated, and the very thing that he discovered could have saved his life, but because he wasn't at a Negro hospital, he bled to death on the actual steps. It's a very it's a very tragic story. But yeah, but like but like these are like inventions that we still use today. The air conditioning
Can I
unit.
add one? Can I
Yes,
add one?
please do.
Okay.
Yes.
So my teenager has a condition called tetralogy of Fallot, and which is a heart condition where they do open heart surgery to fix it. And one of the treatments for it when they're babies is to give them a shunt, a heart shunt.
Yep.
And this was credited to Alfred Blalock, which is a white man, but the person that actually created this shunt was Vivian Thomas, who was a black doctor that worked with him. So yeah, have that one.
We wouldn't even have the mRNA COVID-19 vaccine without a black woman. We would not even have been able to send John Glenn and his compatriots to the moon without those hidden figures. Shout out to Katherine Johnson being a human computer. And but like, yes, I even though like I'm highlighting black people and I'm glad you guys are, indulging me for a little bit, but they were still Americans. They were still American scientists. They were still people who were innovative with their talents and their gifts and their knowledge in order for them to bring all these different things that we enjoy today that makes our lives more tenable, because they took the time to utilize their talents, their gifts, their ability, their knowledge, their wisdom, their brains in order to bring us these things. And now, because of the budget cuts, because research takes money, research takes resources. Let's just be clear, and we can't necessarily be in a mode where we can say that the whole source of us being able to have these wonderful things came because like somebody just did it for free. That's not the case. Like there was actually money, research and development that was spent on making sure that these things came to pass.
But where's the profit, Cynthia? Where's the profit?
Well, well, I don't. Steve, you want to talk more about the profit? Like.
Hey, we got free healthcare here.
Right. I mean, but the profit is that you make the lives of human beings more um, they can live longer. They not have as hard of a life. They have more sophisticated tools in order for them to be able to move forward. I mean, like for a while there, like we use our automobiles going back and forth to where we need to go. Like for a very long time there. Um, the Ford company and another black company, I think it's called Park or something. I forgot specifically. They were going neck and neck on the assembly line when it came to assembling automobiles. And a lot of times people were actually going to the black company because those particular automobiles work better than the Ford Model T. I mean, but like I said, like regardless of the race of the people, they were all still Americans. They were all still people who developed, who had, and the thing is that because America was not stymied by certain ideas of religion because of our church state separation, that it allowed to have a more unique field in order for people to be able to innovate that you did not see readily in other countries. That's why we had invention and so many breakthroughs in medicine, in science, in surgery, in all types of different places because we had this idea that we want American exceptionalism is also about American innovation. And now we have gone almost like we're a country that's like over 250 years old, yet we have gone back a millennia when it comes to how we think and how we govern, and especially like how we are really positioning ourselves in the world to basically take away that long time position that we had. This is science under attack. Don't you agree, AJ?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this isn't a new thing at all. In the first term of the current president, science was certainly under attack as well. I don't know if you guys remember or if you were part of the March for Science movement. I organized the Houston chapter, and we had over 15,000 people marching with us because Houston has the largest medical complex in the world. It includes 21 hospitals, 8 specialty institutions, 8 academic and research institutions, and 4 medical schools. So, if you think about it, these cuts are going to be devastating to the medical center, to the Texas Medical Center, but also to the world because here they do the type of research that has worldwide implications. They are involved in research to develop vaccines, cancer treatment, Alzheimer's, like we said earlier, innovative surgeries. We have hospitals like Texas Children's that treat just childhood diseases, Baylor College of Medicine, MD Anderson. These are all really well established institutions, and they are some of the top in the world. So it's going to be devastating, not just for the United States.
Mm. This tells the story of a nation committed to truth, but is this a nation committed to truth? Is it, Stephen? I don't
Well,
know. Why don't
like
you tell us?
what was this catchphrase I was hearing? How many years ago was it? Like fake news?
Hmm.
I feel
Hmm.
like maybe reality has been under attack for a long time now. So,
Alternative facts,
yeah,
indeed.
exactly. Like
Hmm.
where it's so interesting. Like just the fact that flat earthers exist. Like, yeah, there's the grifters, but then
Yeah.
there's people who are just like, yeah, no, I can't trust anyone who knows anything, and I've got to figure out reality on my own, and I'm going to live in my own reality. Like that, the fact that we are living in a world that allows that to permeate and to take a hold of people is just wild. So reality has been under attack for a long time, and now it's out in the open for people to see that that being committed to advancements like scientific advancements and understanding this world, that is not a value, that those conservative ideals of holding on to the way things used to be when the powerful men were powerful, like that is what is most important, not the reality of so many people who are disenfranchised, of the reality of people who aren't cishet white men. It's clear that the patriarchal system only supports inquiry if it supports the specific outcomes and narratives that benefit them. Like if it isn't, if it's not supporting them, it's woke, and it's not, and it's just such a blatant trying to shore up. It's trying to build up a wall of sand against the ocean, is what it is. And sure, they might be using a bulldozer to do it now. It's, either you evolve or you die out. You take your pick.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got plenty of data to show that's the case, right? Like either you are a person that evolves, you're able to maneuver and get with the times, or you cease to exist. And we have plenty of animals and other species and and things that have had life that was not able to, be that survival fittest
Look at
species.
look at the Cro-Magnums. When was the
Yeah.
last time you saw a Cro-Magnum besides in the White House?
That's not what you did there. That's not what you did there. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you took the words out right of my mouth. But yeah, I mean, but that's where we are right now. You know, it's such a shame that for a country where we still have this narrative of touting American exceptionalism and meritocracy, that we are not supporting that whatsoever when it comes to the top down. And it's more like we only support those with the silver spoons in their mouth in order for us to be able to move forward, even though, like, it seems like they were doing like this deference to these tech bro people, but it's not in the spirit of advancing the humankind. It's in the spirit of advancing individuals who are in those particular spaces and positions already, and screw everybody else, you know and I'm just curious to see like how this would lead, and if we will ever get to the point where we can get leadership in office top down, where we are valuing science. I mean, like, the reason why we are not living in darkness any longer, literally, is because of valuing science. The reason why we have longer lifespans now is because of the valuing of science. The reason why we don't have, you know, rampant diseases going crazy is because we developed vaccines and medications to treat things, and that's all due to science and being committed to seeing the scientific method go completely all the way through. And now we are even in a point where our progenitors from thousands of years ago used to think of stars and planets and things of that nature as deities, but we know better now because of science. When AJ are we going to value science again? Can you tell me when that's going to happen?
It's really mind blowing to me because even in past conservative presidencies, there has been quite a bit of focus on valuing science. Okay, well, sometimes we have some climate change deniers here and there, but we haven't seen quite this level of dismissiveness of science as far as technologies and medicine and everything like that. And this doesn't happen in other countries. Like it's a thing from America, from the current administration, it seems. Maybe in third, fourth world countries, but it shouldn't be happening right here. For example, in the Netherlands, they have a whole department dedicated to education, culture, and science. And here we are appointing a former professional wrestling promoter to restore the education department straight into the ground, right? I mean, apparently the Netherlands minister for that department that I just mentioned wrote a letter to Parliament requesting to set up a fund aimed at bringing top international scientists to their country. Imagine that, right? A place that respects science so much that they want the best scientists to come work for them. But no, not in America. Here, our government is currently cutting the funding and deporting foreign scientists that are coming into the country legally because, they put flies in the wrong container.
It's insane, but we are definitely seeing like this pivot, right? Where now Europe is looking to take the spot that America had for so long. How do you think, Stephen, Europe is going to lead the scientific world differently?
Like I'm curious. I'm like, yeah, I'm a fan of change, and obviously I think it's time for a change in leadership. I think the United States needs a few decades to get their shit figured out, and like, welcome back once things calm down. If you happen to be two countries at the time, so be it. But there's the world is big. There's other people, and they can have a crack behind the steering wheel while you get yourselves cleaned up, right? But especially in Europe, because they have such close borders, because there's so many smaller countries, they need to be able to operate more collaboratively. So that's just a part of their DNA, I believe. And so I'm so curious to know what it will look like for that type of foundational thinking to be influencing science in the future. What will happen to science when it isn't so closely in bed with capitalism, because can see so many thriving socialist countries in Europe. What will happen when medicine isn't being driven by countries that have privatized healthcare? I think that there's so many great potentials by having a fresh new perspective behind the steering wheel. So I'm curious to see what window is going to open up from this closed door.
Can I vote for Canada? Can I vote for Canada for world leader, please?
Maybe.
Well, they're close enough. They're close enough. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting on how this whole thing is going to play out, and how this movement is going to show up when we are literally seeing the best and the brightest leaving the United States, because it's no longer tenable for them to be able to work and innovate here. And I think that there's going to be maybe a couple outcomes that comes to it. Like, we'll see innovation, but, we may not necessarily be able to experience it wholeheartedly the way that we need to, because, because of the way that our leadership has structured itself, and the mindset that it has adopted, unfortunately, has been attacks on facts, attacks on science, attacks on truth, attacks on just obtaining knowledge. And that is unfortunate. But what's not unfortunate is listening to more nonprofits. So click here.